So I'd like to just introduce our first panel of the day. We've got three speakers from three interesting travel and technology companies who are going to talk to us today about the shifting sands of travel distribution. So first up, I'd like to introduce Hugh Aitken. He's Vice President of Commercial at Skyscanner. And then, as Joel mentioned, we've got James Clarke, who's General Manager in UK for Travelzoo. Welcome, James.
Hi, Lee. Hi, everyone.
Hello. And then we've got George Dumitru, who's Chief Executive of wbe.travel. So welcome, George.
Hello. Hi, Lee. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. Let's start off with just taking, I guess, a little bit of maybe a rain check of where things are at the moment. Just maybe start with Hugh, because I know you've been sort of taking the temperature of the industry throughout the crisis, and Skyscanner, you've got incredible reach with your consumers. What's your assessment of the current situation, the immediate challenges that companies face in the coming months related to COVID-19 and pandemic?
Surely. So we published a report last week, which is based on two key inputs. One, what we're seeing in terms of searches and search demand on Skyscanner, but also what we're seeing when we're polling several thousand travellers every single week. And three real trends come up in that. One is travel demand is going to be different. So we've seen a big uptick in one-way, big uptick in domestic searches, and also a much shorter booking window than we saw in the past, but equally a big uptick in interest in next summer searches as well, which kind of indicates a desire for people to get back to travel. The second thing is traveller needs are very, very different. Whereas last year, the top reason people were saying was they wanted the cheapest price, they're now saying they want clarity and transparency on well-being and their own health and well-being of them and their families. They also want information about flexibility. They want information about the travel journey and what's going to be in the destination. So a huge amount there. There is, however, their needs are different, but there is optimism out there. I think Europeans are more optimistic than our average traveller in Asia, but there is optimism out there and different types of cohorts. So there's different optimism levels. The third theme we pulled out in the report was the need for collaboration and real innovation in the industry. We are going to have to hack our way out of this as an industry, and how do we collaborate? So we are sharing a huge amount of data with our partners, and equally they are as well. We launched a new travel insights tool for our airline partners a couple of weeks ago. They can understand what's happening right now in markets, and so that deep collaboration and deep understanding of what's going on in the market, and all of us sharing in that, will be a key to us getting out of that. So we're certainly seeing those three trends, but I think particularly for travellers, a very different type of profile of search, a different profile of their needs as travellers right now.
Yeah, I know. Also, James, I know you've also been surveying both your subscribers, but you've also got on the B2B side the suppliers of your deals, and you're quite close to those guys and understanding the sentiment that's going on there. What are you seeing? I remember early on, again, a bit like Hugh, there was a lot of there's a degree of optimism still around. People still wanted to get deals, wanted to dream about travel, even if they weren't actually pressing the button to book at that time.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. And consumer confidence is definitely going to be I think the most immediate impact that we all see in this market. We were one of the first, I think, to start surveying our members to find out what their sentiment was. And a little bit like the COVID graph, it was an inverted graph. So as the COVID numbers started to decline, consumer confidence obviously went up. And as those lockdown measures were slowly but surely releasing and relaxing, we were seeing the confidence of our members increase. So I think consumer confidence is going to be key. And my other concern, I would say, around that confidence is probably what's going to be left of the travel industry as we kind of start to exit the COVID scenario, because there are examples of for instance, routes, air routes, which say that London, New York, pre-COVID, you could go to New York and have a city break for under £400, and and there were deals to Malaga. Now, if that air uplifts to those destinations potentially don't exist anymore, what type of prices will be left in the market for some of these destinations that we've become so accustomed to for deals? But Linked to that, we also know that there will be lots of competition out there. When the market starts picking up, I'm sure lots of the airlines will put extra capacity into the market and onto certain routes. But I do have some concern around what will be left when we get to the other side of this, because we don't know how long it will go on for.
Yeah, and I know you found the consumer in particular, I think Hugh suggested this as well, but they're looking for that flexibility of booking. So you're having to work, I guess, closely with your partners to ensure that they're offering what the consumer is after, and a bit of peace of mind is probably higher on the agenda as opposed to necessarily pure price.
Yes, linked again to that consumer confidence piece. One of the first aspects we realised was the member was acting and showing us in all of the research that what would engage them, what would create that greater confidence in booking a deal was a deal that had flexibility, a deal where they knew they were able to get a refund within a set period of time, or if the travel partner had flexible booking terms and conditions. Now, booking directly with Travelzoo, we're very fortunate and proud of our refund basis that you can book a hotel with us, and if you choose not to go to that hotel 72 hours, the money's back in your account. So our direct consumer was comfortable with us, but then the other side of our business is all those other advertisers. So we worked with them around introducing both low deposits, looking at greater flexibility around booking terms and conditions, and in particularly when we were working with the larger asset holders like the airlines and the cruise liners, about ensuring that their message was reciprocated and included in all of our messaging to our members to really, encourage that booking.
Yeah. Let's turn to George now. I mean, you're a tech company, so you're not seeing it from a B2C perspective like our other two speakers, but you do feel it because you're going to be getting your customers telling you what they want from their technology. And actually, we've heard from both TUI and from Last Minute already this morning about how they're looking at, they're taking this opportunity to look at their tech requirements in businesses. And
yes.
do that. What are your customers coming to you and saying, George, we need this, that, and the other? And is this a long-term strategy, or are they still sort of firefighting?
Well, first of all, everything has to be done through technology now. Basically, technology is a must more than ever. And we can see that international travel is still quite low. Business travel, the same. We don't know exactly what will happen. Now customers prefer domestic and regional more and more. So definitely the travel companies has to adapt the product offer to this new demand. And they have to find the right partners for distribution and for connectivity. And all this is done via technology. So the need of technology is more and more important now. But it's not just the need. The travel company has to adopt technology faster than before. So basically the purchasing cycle has to be lower than before, because they really need to readapt to the new reality. And once they do that, again, it's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So even the technology model, the business model has to be a bit changed. People, they are more oriented on subscriptions than fixed cost installations. And that put a challenge to the travel tech industry a bit as well, because there are big players in the market that they are used to work on an enterprise type of products and not cloud-based on-site, on-premise installations with a lot of time to market that is not so fast. And they need to adapt as well. So they have to somehow downscale, or at least, I don't know, change the way of working and put it on cloud as soon as possible, or invent the subscription models. Because even the tech partners of the travel company has to be in line with their business changes. So has to be a dynamic component in the price or the business model to accommodate the ups and downs.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a pay as you go, maybe a pay as you grow in a way, and pay more when you are better in the business, pay less when you don't have enough bookings.
Yeah, with this move to service as a software and to cloud, that was happening before COVID, George. But
yes.
Is this going to just simply accelerate that? And is that a key then to making sure that you've got the agility in terms of distribution? You can switch models very quickly. We're in a very uncertain time, and it seems you need to be very quick and agile when the market changes.
Yeah. So the adopting of cloud, and subscription models has to be faster than before, because was some reticence in the market for some aspects, but has to be in a way accelerated, because otherwise will not happen as before. So, and also the distribution companies needs to make sure they service safe to travel labels to their products, and again, to have the proper technology to put that on the screen. Yeah.
You mentioned collaboration earlier on, and that's obviously going to be important. You're Skyscanner, you're part of the big, Chinese sea trip group, but you have your role in that group, and also, in the market in general. How do you see collaboration changing? I mean, are people going to be sticking to more what they are best at, and then finding partners to help them with the stuff they don't really need to do, that's not core?
Yeah, so let's go about this. I think when we look at Skyscanner itself, if I look at where we were at the beginning of this year versus where we are now, we're much more deeply collaborating with a whole bunch of our partners. So if you think about Skyscanner, we've got two sides of the marketplace. We've got in normal times 100 million plus travelers on one side, and we've got about 1,200 partners supporting our air products on the other, and we have deep partnerships with all of them. There are a large number of those where that partnership is much, much deeper now than it was at the beginning of this. Sharing data, sharing insights, building our product around what our partners can offer, displaying travelers greater levels of detail about what our partners are offering. So I think that will be a real feature as we come out of this. That those partnerships will be deeper and stronger, and the data sharing, information sharing will be much deeper and stronger as well. I think that collaboration theme is going to be. If you think about aviation, we've had difficult times and shocks. I don't think anything has been hard as this. But how we get out of it, an important part is we come out of this as an industry and we collaborate. For example, I'll give you an example on airport testing. I know there's work going on in the UK at the moment to see how can we start doing testing at Heathrow. 85% of travellers in a recent poll to us, that was a couple of thousand travellers, said they're more likely to travel if there's testing at the airport in place. So that sort of thing, we can do that as an industry, as a single voice, and then how do we collaborate to make this happen and give travellers that level of information and confidence as they're planning their trips.
Yeah. When we spoke prior to today's panel about the key themes, we talked about specialization, sort of sticking to your knitting, James, and I wrote down a phrase one of you used, all in this together as an industry. Now, that certainly can be the case, but actually it's not necessarily what's happening at the minute. There seems to be quite a lot of people following their own paths, etc. And do you think there needs to be a bit more of a collaborative effort on behalf of the industry to work through this? Because not any one brand can do it themselves. They need to find those partnerships.
Yes, and I agree with what Hugh has said about this collaboration, but we are going to have to work together as an industry to get through this. The difficult phase is at the end of it, where when the market does turn, does that collaboration remain, or do individual businesses think actually there's an opportunity for me now to go back to what I was doing previously? One of the positives that we've seen at Travelzoo is when we entered into this scenario, no one knew really what was going to happen, but the behavior of particular partners has been fantastic. The way they've worked with us, the way we've worked with them. Obviously, it always has to start somewhere. So for us, it was the member insights and the data, which is something that, to be fair, Travelzoo has done more of an annual basis. We've never done it on a weekly basis. So for that level of data to give our partners, what type of cruise ship the members were looking to book, what countries they were keen to book, what duration and how much they were willing to spend, we were going into a much granular level of sharing of data, which what we saw from that was obviously just a great response from our partners, and that has spun to us to continue that. But we've also seen new partners join and advertise with Travelzoo, ones who've never done that in the past, and the relationships that have been spawned actually out of this scenario that we're in has actually probably been some of the positive outcomes from this. And I like to think that what Hugh has said is the same. You know, we're in a unique position, some of our businesses that have global reach, that have maybe more, should we say, structure to it, that we can adopt, support partners, we can help maybe more of those smaller partners who are going through a tough time, whether if it's supporting them with financial repayments because, you know, they can't afford it right now, or if it's working with them to launch new products. So I think we need to work together to get through this. And I like to think that maybe there will be a slightly small culture change when we get to the other side, and we remember who helped us, who was there when we got through this, because I think the landscape will be very different when we get to the other side.
Yeah, Marco from Last Minute touched on this earlier around the marketing platforms, the big guys, the Google, Facebook, Apple, and a challenge around that, what that's going to look like going forward. I guess a lot of firms will have to be doing a lot more with a lot less. So, you know, they're going to look for specialists in marketing and distribution to get consumers in ways that they can't do it directly.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, we've always been in a fortunate position, as Joel touched on in his speech, that, you know, Travelzoo has a large amount of engaged members who trust Travelzoo and trust our messaging. So, you know, is it easier to work with us and then potentially work with someone like Google or Facebook? I would believe it is. You know, there's a lot more metrics involved with working with the larger guys. It can be a lot more costly. There's lots of different ways of working with Travelzoo, and again, I think what we've demonstrated working with our partners, especially some of the new ones during this period of time, is someone who's never worked with us has actually really enjoyed working with us, and now is actually probably spending more with us than they were with their original channels, which bodes very well for Travelzoo. But more importantly for us, it's about that partnership.
George, on technology, often the great frustration is that you've got systems, some legacy, some not so much, but they never seem to work together. Compatibility is an issue. There's no one doing a one-stop shop for everything you need, so you have to bring systems together in some way. Is that going to continue to be a frustration for travel? It can't really, can it? Because people can't spend time and waste money now trying to make things work together, which simply aren't compatible. What's the answer to that problem?
Well, I think the answer is integration in the end, and on the same spirit as we discussed already. So we're discussing, we're starting integrating more and more partners via APIs, for instance, for our clients lately. That means the need of collaboration it's increasing as well, and we don't have only partners from the inventory point of view. We have partners for content, we have partners for mapping, different type of services. And the idea behind it is exactly this. We don't try to do everything because it's almost impossible to cover absolutely all the needs. So we're trying to integrate different technology altogether, that each of them, they do their job very well. So we become from developers more integrators, and that is serving quite good the needs of our clients. They have to keep a relationship with some of the partners on a commercial level, but at least for the technical part, we are there for them to help this integration and the entire ecosystem works. On the other side, exactly, I mean, definitely our clients are partners as well. So we have a quite close relationship with them this period, because the need of personal touch it's increasing as well, and the help that we put for our clients it's a bit better than before as well, because this situation it's challenging for everyone. So we become more than a supplier to them. It's like a partnership approach.
Hugh, on the consumer side, what do you see as being the long-term reaction of consumers to COVID? We've discussed already this morning a need for self-service and automation, but at the same time, you've got that need for reassurance that you may well only get from speaking to somebody. So you can almost discuss it, or you can debate it in both ways. What do you see as being the things that travel companies need to address in terms of consumer experience?
Yeah, so I think if in lots of ways, we were on this trend anyway. I think what's happened with the pandemic has accelerated it. So there's definitely something about, travellers right now want a lot more clarity and a lot more transparency. That was a trend that we were seeing already. So that's transparency around what's the journey like, what's it going to be like at destination. Before this, they were asking for transparency on cost, on service, etc. And if you look at our product, Skyscanner, we've been adding more and more elements of that to our product. I think the other thing is, travellers will want inspiration and ideas. As the world reopens, well, where can I go? Where is easy to get to? Where is the experience and the destination, appealing to what I'm looking for? So I think that sort of information and insight will be really important for travellers as well. But again, that's something that's been a continued trend. I think back to the personalisation point, and I think, it was a really good point about how that can work for and against a brand. Travel, we are definitely doing more and more around personalising the message we are giving to travellers and saying, hey, this is what people like you, these are the sort of places they visit, these are the sort of experiences they take when they're in these destinations. So I think that's going on more and more anyway. So I think more personalisation and greater transparency and information is going to be a trend. Now, at the moment, it's health and well-being. I think that will evolve as that becomes less of a concern as we come out of this.
Yeah. Do you think we're seeing a move away from price as a key factor? It's people are very price sensitive, but
yeah, I think right now we are, because other things are concerning people more. But I think my own view, and it is that we are creatures of habit, and we'll probably return to type, which will be, I want to make sure it's a good price and I'm getting the best price for this. There's other considerations, but I want best price. Flexibility, I think, will stay a consideration for quite a long time. But yeah, people will go back to price and will look for reassurance it's the best price, and ability to compare prices will still remain really important. I think that will be probably more acute given probably economies and individuals' purse strings will tighten as we come out of this and our ability to travel opens up again.
Yeah, and James, if reassurance isn't there, I guess what happened is, and we're seeing this already, that people will book more last minute, more late deals. That's not necessarily what travel companies want. They want to get the bookings in. They want to get the revenue through the business. How can platforms like Travelzoo partners help to reassure people to book earlier and to make those decisions early, and the reassurance that they will get what they want, or will get the money back?
So firstly, I'm sorry about my internet dropping out there. That was embarrassing. So I'm on my mobile now, but you couldn't have timed that better. So it's a valid question, and the first part is that one of the things that we have done is, are we seeing a trend to move to last minute? And one of the results has been yes. The sentiments from our members have definitely turned to what's happening in the next 12 weeks, what destinations are within quarantine. These are the key subjects that they want to know before they make that decision. But what we are also seeing is that forward trend of now potentially discounting travel in the next 8 to 12 weeks and looking very much into the future. So we've got two sets who are avid travelers who want to get away, want to travel in the short term, but want all the reassurances, all the protection that our partners can provide them, and also Travelzoo with our domestic, and all the members who are booking next year want the same luxuries as well. So if I am booking next year, what happens if this happens all again? So what we have to do is we work with our partners. Some of them have got very good relationships with airlines and hotels, which means they can actually offer fully flexible fares and package holidays to our members, which works very well. And for the other ones, what it's all about us is ensuring that we communicate to our members as clearly as possible what the terms and conditions are that apply to that holiday. So we really want to make sure that there's no grey in that area. And for anything that's booked directly with Travelzoo, we've been very fortunate, as I refund policy is very good. Has proven well on things like Trustpilot, where we are scored as excellent, 4.7, and we've touched on this when we spoke, but customer service and the kind of pre-customer service check that I think members and customers alike will do and will make in this world going forward will be probably one of the first things they do.
Yeah. George, when we talk about sort of maybe travel becoming a bit more of a last minute purchase, obviously that requires companies to react quickly. That requires lots of insight and data to be inputted into their systems and technologies, which maybe hasn't been done in the past. They've got the technology in place, but haven't had that business insight really. Is that going to be a more important thing for travel firms going forward, that they integrate their business insight into their technology?
I think so, yes, definitely it will be. And data insights, it's always good for any analyzing on the trends. But I think here with the last minute and flexibility, the most important part is to handle the cancellations, okay, and the refunds, because that it's a challenge now in the industry, and was a challenge for the big OTAs to handle so many refunds in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And here the technology had to actually help, and to have, I don't know, modus of notification reminders before the deadline, before the cancellation terms it's hitting. Also to make sure that the offer is flexible enough and the people can actually see the cancellation terms before and booking and doing the booking. And if they want to cancel, automation on the refunds from the credit card directly. And that can be achieved with technology. It's not so big a deal. It just needs to be developed if it's not there, and needs to be adopted. The trends definitely with the insights, but it's not enough to know what you have to do if you actually don't do it.
Yeah.
And that is our mission as a travel tech, to consult the clients, to give them what they need to do on the technology side to be covered in these situations.
Yeah.
And not to have the money blocked in the market on they have to pay to the suppliers, but cannot basically do the other way around.
Okay. So we're nearly the end of this section, so we're going to go into a second break in a minute. But just a few last words from the three panelists. Hugh, just looking forward into next year. I think Marco from last minute was saying he was hoping to see some recovery from April onwards. You've probably seen what's going on over in China with your parent company, and I believe domestically, certainly, China's back to almost normality. What's your outlook for the coming 12 months or so?
So I think one is, one element is we don't know, but I guess if you look at the trends of what happened, as we started to come out of lockdown, we saw a very rapid return to people looking for travel and wanting to travel. So that innate desire to travel is absolutely still there. In fact, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand in the market. So if you look at, in the last week alone, we've seen a big uptick in Australia domestic searches as states start to open their borders. We saw it in Japan a few weeks ago. We're definitely seeing it in the US, just a gradual return of that traffic. So I think you'll see, but I think what you'll end up seeing is a hyper-local recovery as borders are opened in different countries, and even just domestic markets start to restore themselves. So I think that'll definitely be a trend as we go into next year. I think the challenge will be, how do airlines plan for that? How do other operators plan for that and have capacity able to be switched on and off as they go? But so I think if you look in the past, we saw that trend. So our prediction would be for next year that we would certainly see that trend. I think the other thing is I think the other indicator will be how confidence returns, and we've been talking about that. There's definitely the consumer confidence will be critical to us seeing any sort of return to normality, and a lot of that's down to media and how coronavirus is reported in the media and the prominence is given to it, but equally progress made in vaccines. So I think there's a couple of conditions which will come, which will allow travel to take off again, and I think our view is there's pent-up demand there that will mean that there is a rapid return to some level of normality anyway.
Yeah, James, just a quick thought on trends going forward. Obviously, Travelzoo's built its business on email. That's still very powerful, but people are engaging with brands in different ways today. And I think Joel mentioned voice. Is for a brand like Travelzoo, do you take this opportunity to review the way you go to market and the way you engage with customers, and how does that change?
Yeah, I think no business has gone through this period of time without looking at themselves in the mirror, and we touched upon technology as one of the key areas, which definitely cloud and potentially reducing a lot of the grey areas of the business that we would maybe projects that we were doing but maybe not doing right. So we've undertaken that globally at Travelzoo as well, and we've definitely looked upon ourselves and said, right, okay, let's do more things better than maybe doing a few things averagely, and so that's important. Email is still a very important distribution for us. Jack's Flight Club is also part of the Travelzoo family, and they've got an increasing growing number of members signing up to them, so it clearly says emails are still very, very popular in today's society. But are we looking at new things? Yes, always interested in that, and we've worked in a lot with the likes of Jack's Flight Club in some new interesting things for potentially next year as well. I think more importantly, to touch upon what Hugh said, I think there's a huge amount of pent-up demand. People do want to travel again. I've always said this, we're an island, get on a plane, we want to get a boat or a train and get away from where we are. We're not like mainland Europe where you can get in a car and drive for 7 hours. So that pent-up demand is certainly there. It will probably more likely emerge from certain routes first, and depending on where the airlines operate, very good routes, and where the government supports that with either a quarantine process or a tunnel or a bridge. So I think it will come back. It will come back in kind of spurts. But if I'm to be really honest, and where do I see full recovery? I think we're going to have to look at the back end of next year, where we will really see kind of some form of return to normality. I think it's still going to be touch and go for the quarter ahead, which is a real shame. But the growing signs are, particularly from Travelzoo, is a good Q3 compared to what we were forecasting, and we're forecasting a better Q4 as well. So,
okay, thank you. Thanks, James. I think we're still having a few issues on the phone there, but we got most of that. Just a very quick word finally to George on the travel reboot, i.e., looking at your processes and systems. Do you get your sense that travel companies on the whole are using this opportunity where bookings are low to do that reboot, to have a look at what their requirements are and to make long-term decisions?
Well, I can say we can see a little bit of change in positive change in this summer in terms of bookings around our clients. Yeah. And I can say that I see it's a lot of demand of technology on the market now, better than before. It's just people at the moment, they want to get more technology, but they want to pay less than before.
Okay.
So this is the real challenge for the travel tech, how to manage to keep that balance, because the demand is higher, but the budget are far more less than before. And well, because the demand is higher in the technology, I see that the travel companies really consider to reorganize themselves, and the technology can help also to make the business more efficient in some aspects. And this is good news in a way, because they think about the future. They think on the fact that, and some of they did not think about this kind of stuff before, and now was quite a hit for them. So they wake up and they basically want to make their organization more structured and more efficient, and technology helps. It's just we need to find the balance between demand and let's say financial offer.
All right, look, we have to wrap things up there. We're a bit over time, so thanks you guys. Thanks guys for your time today. I appreciate that. And James, we managed to just get there, I think, with your phone. So thank you very much. We're off to have another break now. So
yeah, sorry about that. I've got to pay my internet bills.
Yeah, exactly.